Today, within It's a Financial Life, we are specifically talking about wellness for your wallet. Now, within April, it's Financial Literacy Month, which is great. And I encourage people to understand financial literacy because it does inform many things in financial wellness. But I view financial wellness a little bit different than financial literacy, and it's a very important component of wellness in general. So I thought I would take this month to talk about it. So this is not your normal conversation of if I'm doing a budget, how much should I put towards my debt or towards my savings or simultaneously? We cover all of these things in the previous webinars and future webinars, and I'm excited to talk about all of that. But today, we're really looking about just our financial habits, our financial behavior, our financial mindset, as it were. And so think about it that financial wellness isn't a destination where everything is suddenly perfect. It's a practice. It's like building muscle or learning to cook. We're going to talk about everyday decisions, the kind that seem small, like dinner out or a new hobby, and how those decisions connect to our stress levels, our relationships, and even our sense of peace. And if you feel like you've been stressed about your finances, know that you are not alone. It is constantly the number one cause of stress amongst employees. When asked, it's always financial stress. And then the other categories are personal relationships, job stress, and medical stress. And I say financial stress is more than all of that because it's all three things combined. Money touches everything we do. And so that's why it plays such an important role in our finances. And that stress informs future financial decisions. And that's why we're here talking about this today, is really trying to gain that sense of stability and reduce stress as it's connected to finances. Because with, it being the number one cause of stress, it's also a big impact in losing sleep, and that impact on losing sleep impacts our physical health, impacts our decision making, and that stress just really can accumulate and become chronic stress overall. I'm not here to doom and gloom. I'm just here to say these decisions play an aspect on our stress, on that sense of peace. And if you feel like you're in this together, if you feel like you're in this alone, you're facing all these issues, so many people are going through these struggles. And that's why we're here to talk about it and to say that you're not alone on this path and you're not behind. This is just wherever you are and moving forward. And it's a time to reset, realign, and take those steps forward, not just view this as something that's occurring, but something that you're actively participating in. And so I'm going to give some actionable items throughout this. If you have a piece of paper and want to write down some of these questions, this is just something to think about. Or again, like as we're trying to really reframe how we view money in our day-to-day life, if you have a piece of paper, if you're just jotting this note down, I just wanted to say, take a moment after we're done, while I'm moving on to the next slide, to jot down what you hope financial wellness will bring into your life. If it's peace, flexibility, time, joy, whatever it is that you are hoping that it will help you achieve, that becomes your motivation, that becomes your guide as you move forward as to helping influence those decisions you are making. And so let's talk about what is wellness. Before we go deeper into financial wellness, let's zoom out and talk about wellness in general. So, wellness is more than fitness goals or clean eating. It's about how you care for your mental, emotional, and physical space, even when things feel messy. Real wellness isn't about achieving perfect balance every day. It's about checking in with yourself and making small shifts that help you feel like you again. Wellness is an emerging trend over these past couple of years. The specifics of it vary, but people view it as there's these different pillars of wellness, whether that is mental wellness, emotional wellness, physical wellness. There's a sense of awe that can be tied in with this. Usually it's associated with nature, which is why this image is here, because these feelings help connect our overall wellness. And so many of these things overlap. And so when you find you start improving your physical wellness, then you start improving your mental and emotional wellness. And that mental and emotional wellness then influences your financial wellness because you're in a healthier state of mind to make positive decisions. And so it can be this give and take, and this can vary on any given day. So it's just about recognizing where you are, doing these small check-ins. And I think in a lot of ways, it's just hitting the pause and saying, am I just going in this autopilot, or am I really a part of this? Am I actively participating in my life and the financial things that are taking place? Because when your habits reflect your values, even in small ways, you're practicing wellness, and financial habits are no different. And so, for an actionable item connected to wellness, we're going to write down three habits, small or big, that help you feel more like yourself. So, in your day to day, if there are moments where you just feel like, wow, this just grounded me, this brought me back to a place of I'm in charge of what I'm doing. And because, again, it's not just connected to the financial habits, that ties into so many aspects of our life. And so, that is what wellness is overall. But let's talk about financial wellness as it connects to what I was just saying. So financial wellness isn't a magic number in your bank account. It's a feeling. It's the calm that comes from knowing your money habits support your life goals. It doesn't drain them. It's having the confidence to make a purchase without panic and the flexibility to handle a surprise car repair without spiraling. And it's about knowing that there's someone in your corner when you need help. I think, again, a big issue within the financial life of many modern consumers is that there's feelings of shame connected to getting help, or they just don't know what to, or people just don't know what to talk about when asking for help. It's not something that they were raised to understand. And so I think support does play a big role in financial wellness for those that do need it. And so understanding that that's just part of the plan is seeking out help where you need it to fill in those things that you may not be fully aware of, or just as you're trying to find small wins to move you in the right direction. And so, here at CAFQ, we really believe that financial wellness is deeply personal. It's not about how much you make, but about how you feel in the day-to-day rhythm of your money life. And so think of it as emotional stability expressed through your financial habits. And that's what we're aiming for. And it's absolutely possible. Uh, Actionable item, it says you can rate your current sense of financial peace on a scale from 1 to 10. So if you say, okay, here's financial peace, here's where I'm at, and saying, what's one small change that could move me just 1 point higher? If you marked a 5, what's one thing you could do to move you to a 6? And that feeling of accomplishment for having done so, or feeling like you're moving in the right direction, that is what we talk about for financial wellness, is a feeling, not a magical number, even though we are marking it as a number on this scale. Something else I want to talk about then is the disconnect of things going on, or what's this bigger issue. And so within this wellness disconnect, there's this tension of I should save versus this brings me joy. I think there's also something to look at. We talked about this under one of the previous webinars for debt management, or maybe it was our savings one. Regardless, the what we found was when tests were done, surveys were completed, they found that Americans were more in line to earn money than they are to save money. And so when all of our conditioning goes towards putting more focus into acquiring the money, not necessarily what we do with it after, we're already being set up to work through this obstacle and create this change in our personal beliefs and habits so we can save. And so I think another thing that goes in with this is that savings can be viewed as a negative thing of if my life is so frustrating right now, how do I save? Or if we are putting money towards our expenses, not recognizing that this also can bring positive use to our life. I know that may sound a little confusing. The idea being, yes, you should save, but yes, some of your purchases are also helping you be a better version of yourself. Those things that ground us or that make us feel connected to our friends or make us feel connected to our communities um, often come from spending money as well. And so recognizing how we build these things in so it's a mutual supportive thing, that there's not this disconnect, that we're just changing how we think about it as it comes to our spending habits. So I should say versus this brings me joy. We just talked about this guilt over spending on fun or convenience. Budgeting, often viewed as a four-letter word, but it's this idea of like, oh, I can't do anything fun. I'm on a budget. When the reality is, a budget is just a plan for how you spend and save your money. Uh, think of it as within all of these billionaires who are taking these rockets up to space, that's in their budget to go up to space with that money. That didn't just come out of nowhere. They planned for it. You can do ridiculous things with your money. And it's still, as long as it's part of your budget, as long as you're not putting yourself in a bad situation, it's your money to live your life with. And so it really comes down to, again, your priorities, what your situation is for what you're trying to achieve. And so not keeping things so rigid. That's where we talk about flexibility. Um, the wellness gets disconnect. Also, the mental load of money stress, being so stressed out by your money that you're like, I can't even look at it. I don't want to see what's going on with it. and how that can then further distance you from these issues that may be piling up. And so trying to alleviate some of these things and understanding that small expenses carry big emotional weight. That if I spend, you know, $1.20 on each for three different boxes of candy, it may be okay, it's a small expense, it's maybe $4 or $5 overall. But to have that enhance the movie night I do with my kids, to have a different sort of format for candy or to make it seem more like an experience for them becomes this bigger emotional weight of what this night means. Someone says I may have froze. If that is the case and not just their Wi-Fi, I'm so sorry. And again, this will be fixed in the recording. So if there is an issue, as I said, hopefully it unfreezes for the person who said that. Let's keep going. As we were saying, it's your life, it's your map. This is your decisions for what's going on, that are going to really influence this. And it's not a one size goal fits all. I know when they talk about budgeting, for example, it's often 50-30-20 about your needs versus your wants versus your savings and debt for that 50-30-20 respectively. When realistically, your situation may necessitate a higher amount for your needs. If you are, working on a single income amongst different aspects, more of your money may go towards some of those purchases. It doesn't mean your budget is bad just because that's the situation you're working with. And of course, you want to find that balance, but it's this idea that your situation is unique to you, what your background is with personal finances, what you have access to with personal finances. It can vary so much person to person. And so, really don't view yourself in this comparison pod of here's somebody doing so well. Everyone is on this different journey, and it is a journey. It's a path that you're taking to move yourself towards that right direction within recognizing how this is going to differ person to person, it's also that your values are going to shape your money journey. What you would choose to spend money on is not necessarily reflective of what everyone should choose to spend money on. It may be something to you specifically, and just because it's you specifically doesn't mean that it doesn't carry that emotional weight that we just spoke about in the previous slide. It's again about reframing these things to reduce this guilt that can be very self-inflicted sometimes and recognizing that there are things we're doing for ourselves that other people may not make that same decision. It doesn't make it a bad decision, but it's that your values are going to shape this journey. And that comparison is not the compass for where you're going. It's just recognizing other people are on this different journey than I am. Yeah, wellness is what feels right, not necessarily what looks like. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in another slide for decision making, but I think a common way to look at it this way is wellness is what feels right, not what looks right. Because when it comes to decision making, the reality is that we make emotional decisions, not logical decisions. If it was logical decisions, it would not be the current uh, financial state of so many Americans as it relates to debt that they may have found themselves in. Not all debt is negative debt, but I think there are many people who would probably say that they wish they had moved a little differently with some of their financial choices. And it's again saying that it's not about what necessarily looks right, it's about what feels right. Recognizing you're going to spend money in these different ways, but if you can feel less stress at the end of the day about those purchases, then you're already moving in a better step because that lack of stress isn't going to build on itself. And so let's talk about some of these everyday choices. And really looking at too that financial wellness includes joy. Joy is a part of that wellness, and that money shouldn't be viewed as this negative thing in your life. It's just a tool for accomplishing these larger motivators. It's not the end all be all. It's just something that you use to achieve these bigger goals for yourself. And so let's look at some of these for examples. Dinner out equals connection, not just calories. Maybe a $14 burger might feel like a waste, and I put this in air quotes, but was this a dinner where you also vented about work, celebrated a win, or, laughed until that dinner shot out of your nose? These things have value. And so it's when we reframe spending as intentional and joy giving, it changes things. So it's not, oh man, I'm eating out too much. It's, wow, I had some great meals with close friends and relatives that, really made me feel better about the world in general. And it's about that intention and finding those things that will build that emotional memory. If you were just eating out, maybe to give yourself a break from your life, also okay. But if that is then adding up and becomes this continual thing of saying, okay, well, what do I do to address this so I'm not eating out all these meals, or so that the meals I am eating out have more intention or going towards that larger purpose? And so reframing these choices, the time spent, not just time, but money spent on hobbies, they're not just another expense in your life. These are, again, these things that bring us joy. And so recognizing how we might be able to um, indulge in these things for the bigger purpose they bring. Uh, Small indulgences equals motivation fuel. So this is talking about within this budget, as I said, if you build it too rigid, if it's too structured and there's no room for freedom, the realities are you're going to spend money on everyday small items. Maybe it's a quick drink from the gas station as you're getting into work. Maybe it's just something that you found on a discount in the $1, $2 aisle, whatever it is. Making these purchases, small indulgences, your financial life does not end with some of these smaller purchases. And so recognizing that you're still in a stable place as you're making these spendings, I think helps motivate you to say, I can move forward, I can be making these bigger moves while still enjoying my day to day. And so that's where we reframe this of not, I didn't really need this, and that's a question for yourself, but more of like, what did this item add to my life for that joy? Yeah, memory making is the big thing with this, is that we're really looking at, is the focus on the items we bought, or is the focus on the memories we built? Oh, here, let me go back to this real fast because this action item for this, one thing you might want to do is just review a recent purchase and saying, that if you felt guilty about it, taking a moment to say, why do I feel guilty about this? What other influences does this have in my life that it brings me joy, growth, or that connection? And so just taking a moment to identify one of these purchases within your life. And let's go with some trade-off examples. And this is where we get practical. Again, financial wellness doesn't just mean cutting everything out. It just means adjusting, making those modifications. Can you get the joy without the financial hangover? Can we look at what we're buying versus memories we're building? And so these are small tweaks that can keep that joy high, keep those costs low. So one example of this, I think, is hobbies. People love to dive into new hobbies. I can be just as guilty of this. And so one area you might find financial wellness within these hobbies that you support yourself with to feel joy is saying, is the equipment I'm buying necessary, or do I need this latest greatest version? If this is a hobby I'm just starting out, trying to recognize cheaper ways to get started with different hobbies, I think is can be beneficial. I myself practice this when I'm doing a lot with musical instruments. I buy many of my instruments off of the marketplace through social media, just as a way to find used ones to save money because I don't need latest greatest for whatever my personal goals are. And that might be one way to save. Hosting a game night instead of going out with friends might be a way to bring people in, keep costs low, and still build that sense of connection. Going through Groupon for coupons for massages, versus spending a lot on this spa day, just small ways you might find savings that still let you enjoy your life, just maybe on a different scale as it relates to these things. And if you want to do 150 spa day, I'm not saying don't. I am saying that maybe this is something that you save up for then. And that again builds more value in the meantime. I'm a big believer of the library for many, many ways to find real life trade-offs. The first being subscription services for streaming, that they have apps, Hoopla, Canopy, Libby, all free through libraries that can stream different entertainment, movies, TV series, whatever it may be. And not all libraries offer these, it varies, but I'd recommend just checking out your library for many, many, many resources. Again, talking about hobbies, you can check out a guitar from my library and have that go for a few days while you're teaching yourself, or recheck it out. So many cool things you can do with it. But we're gonna keep moving. Um, Actionable item for this before we move for the actionable item is make a list of 3 upcoming plans you have, and can you swap one for a lower cost version that still brings you joy? Not saying you have to, but just saying as we look at these things, it might be worth it. And within these, it's a small shift to try. We're not looking at making huge sweeping reforms. We're looking at these everyday decisions we make. And so, one small shift, revisit the recent purchase. Did it bring joy? Plan a values-based spend. Talk to a friend about money just to bring more mindfulness to it. Uh, there's so many things we can do that are small steps that start to move us towards this financial wellness picture of reducing our stress and really saying, what is the role money is playing in my life and viewing it as not a negative thing. And again, I bring this up because we're talking about feelings and emotion as it comes to these very hard math numbers when it comes to money, but it plays a huge role in how we spend our money and how it influences how we feel about our days. When I say track feelings, if you want to literally track, feel free if you want to write down these emotions. But I think this more is just checking in with yourself, just keeping mindful, staying aware. Um, it's how you feel about your spending, and it can be powerful. So if you are, let's say you review your last five purchases and you're asking, did this bring joy or stress? Would I spend this way again? When you focus on the emotional return, not just the dollar return, you start to see what's really supporting your life. And financial clarity, again, isn't just about cutting costs, it's about building awareness because awareness leads to patterns, and patterns leads to that peace that we're trying to find, that stability, that consistency. So, try it. Audit your feelings with your purchases, even for just a week, and see where you end up. They say one way to do this, create a one pager, just three columns for the item, the joy level, stress level, and just as you're making purchases that you want to put under this lens, I definitely recommend it. And so we're gonna wrap up. I've got a few more items past this for things going on with the credit union, additional resources we have available. But financial wellness isn't something you achieve and then it's complete. It's something you maintain. It's like sleep, nutrition, mental health. It's something that is ongoing, and you don't have to figure it out all at once, and you don't have to figure it out alone. And so we've got tools. You can ask for help. And again, just remember, small changes really do make big impacts over time. And so let's keep this going. Financial wellness is ongoing, and it's really asking yourself, what does this mean for me? And what am I going to do differently moving forward with this? And that's really what we're trying to find. Think about a small change you can make. It does not need to be anything massive, but it's again, these small changes and just knowing that you had the discipline to make that decision is going to help influence your decisions for other things. So, if you're looking for additional resources, capq.org/financial wellness, great place to go. It really serves as a hub for many of our other resources. You're going to find the webinars, the blogs, the different articles talking about identity theft. You're going to find different videos, different resources. And so I definitely recommend checking that out. You're going to find some budgeting templates in there. You can also email financialwellness@kafka.org. I'm going to talk about the Money Compass program in just a second for some of the coaching. But currently, we have auto promotion going on. This is taking place until April 25th. And so, whatever you are approved for, if you are trying to refinance a vehicle to free up some money in your monthly budget and you want to bring it over to CAFCU to negotiate flexible terms and save overall, we do have discounts going on. So, we are taking 0.50% APR off of whatever you're approved for with new auto loans and 0.75% off the APR for used auto loans. And so whatever you're approved for, even if your credit is at maybe a lower level than you would like, you're still going to find a discount through this, and we could potentially just negotiate some really great terms. So if you're just in the market for refinancing a vehicle, getting a new one, this one goes until April 25th. We've had members save a lot of money through this. So I definitely recommend this if you're in the market. Additionally, taxes just wrapped up on Tuesday, the 15th. And so many people are getting a tax return and they say, well, what should I do with this money? Maybe you have debts that you're trying to handle. Maybe you have a specific short-term savings goal you're trying to place the money in. Maybe you're just trying to treat yourself. I would encourage you to consider as well a share certificate. So this is where you put your money away for a set amount of time. For these examples, 7 month and 11 month. You can still close a share certificate, pull your money where you need. You just lose out on dividend earnings. That's all in the fine print. Essentially, though, if you don't need this money for a 7 month period, for an 11 month period, starting at, I believe, $1,000, you can open up a share certificate and it's going to earn that higher rate of return with that 4.25, with that 3.80. And so definitely a beneficial thing to do with more people having extra earnings from that tax return. All right, Money Compass. So this is our financial one-on-one coaching for members and non-members. This is no judgment, no pressure. It's just support. You can ask anything, whether it's budgeting, whether it's about, big financial decisions you're making, or if you're just trying to find some direction, we're going to help you with this. And again, financial wellness is ongoing. It's not, this isn't just a workshop. We're saying it's an invitation to keep going in your life and see what else you can achieve. And starting with a Money Compass session with Becky, with Pat Halverson are great options. Um, and yeah, it's free, it's unlimited. There is a link in the resources widget within Zoom to sign up for this. You can also go to cafq.org/coaching. You'll also find it on the financial wellness page. You're going to find it all over our site. It's on our homepage if you're ever trying to find it. So we do have it available. And this is our next month webinar, Steps to Home Ownership. This is happening the third Thursday in May. And so you can scan that to register if you enjoyed this format. And during this session, we're really going to be talking about the initial steps. We're not going to be talking about, you know, you're already there, that home buying. It's saying getting you ready to even have the conversation about home buying. And really viewing this from that mindset of this is the larger goal and how that will influence your finances. And so that puts me right a little bit over the time for today. I'm going to stick around if there are any questions. I see people are still here, of course. And so thank you for that. Thank you for your time and your focus during these sessions today. Check out the previous webinars for the recordings. Check out future webinars. Be sure to fill out a survey. And yeah, I'm going to stick around just in case there are questions. Feel free to put them in the chat or in the Q&A section. And I will be here for just a little bit before we end the session for everybody. But thank you so much for being here. And I hope you all find financial wellness within your everyday life. And I hope this has helped you in that journey. Yes. Yeah, definitely recommend signing up for a Money Compass session. You know what? And let's even, I'm going to go back a bit, make sure. Okay, and I just put a link, kafka.org/coaching, which will take you there. Yes, and Becky says, we present these webinars not just for our current members, these are also for people in our community who are not members yet, people who just want financial help and assistance. But we also are provided as a benefit for employees. So if your employer doesn't offer a credit union membership or a financial wellness program, or even if they do, we work with people who offer multiple, and you'd like to see some of these resources alongside your other ones, you can reach out to Becky Hilton, becky.hilton@kafka.org. Her email is in the chat, and she is happy to help facilitate that conversation as well for getting benefits provided. I am not seeing other questions come through, so I'm going to go ahead and close the session. Again, if you do have questions, you can also email financialwellness@kafku.org. Or you can submit questions in the survey, or ask them during those Money Compass sessions. So everybody, thank you again so much. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Be on the lookout for an email with this recording as well as other links. And yeah, wishing you all the best on your journey to financial wellness. Thank you, everyone.